I've got my notes, I've got my fancy lights. It must be time for another GymCrafter podcast. Welcome back to the GymCrafter podcast, everybody. My name is Tim. I'm the head gym nerd here at GymCrafter.com, the website that I built to help ordinary folks like you and I build home and garage gyms that we absolutely love. And today it's time for another GymCrafter podcast, and I'm back to talking about equipment. Thanks for everybody who tuned in last week for kind of a different episode. If you didn't catch that, go back and check it, especially if you're struggling trying to get out of the hole of either trying to lose some weight or some depression, or you're having trouble getting back in the gym. If you're having any of those issues, go back and check that episode out. Got a lot of great feedback on it. Thank you for everybody who commented so positively. I really appreciate it. But this week we are back to equipment. So if you like these episodes on gear, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you go down there and subscribe. About 60% of the people watching this aren't subscribed, so make sure you're subscribed and make sure you hit that bell notification so that you know when new episodes and new reviews and all that kind of fun stuff comes out. And let's get into today's episode. And as usual, I want to start with an update. I'm going to start with a training and diet update. As you guys know, I've been training to lose weight. I've been doing the functional power training program by John Russin. I just finished week 12 of that. Really cool. It ends up with a testing week where you work on your 1 rep max and kind of see where your levels are based on where you started. And I'm happy to report that I didn't gain any strength at all. You're not expecting me to say that, did you? I also didn't lose any strength, which was really the goal. As you also know, I've been eating in a calorie deficit that entire time. And unlike most people will tell you, it is darn near impossible to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. You kind of got to pick one. And I'm really happy because normally when I'm in a calorie deficit, I also lose some strength, but that's why I picked that particular program. That's why I was in the gym 6 days a week, was I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose strength along with the body fat. As far as the body fat goes, I am down about 18 pounds in 12 weeks, which I'm really happy about. That's about 1.5 pounds a week, exactly what I was aiming for. And I've got another 10 or 15 or more pounds to go before I hit my goal. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the exact same program again for the next 12 weeks, which will take me right into January. Now, what I'm using for weight loss is, as you guys know, I'm using the Carbon weight loss app. I am not affiliated with either functional power training or Carbon, but they are both working so well for me. I'm going to run them both again. Carbon, I am really liking. There's a couple of cool things out there that are different about Carbon that really are different than any other diet I've done before. First of all, it's an if it fits your macros diet. And I know that's a polarizing topic, but for me, it really works. In other words, they aren't restrictive in the type of food you eat. I can have pizza, I can have pasta, I can have Pop-Tarts if I want, I can have bowls of cereal, I can skip breakfast and go get a Dairy Queen hot fudge sundae at night, which I've done a few times. And as long as I hit my protein and I hit my calories, the body fat's coming off. So I am not going to question it. I'm not going to get into the scientific reasoning of why it doesn't work. All I know is that for me it's working. I really enjoy it. It's allowed me to stick with the diet and not really have any issues at all. The other thing that I really like about Carbon is that it allows me to look at things on a weekly block basis instead of a daily block basis, which is really good for me mentally. A lot of times in the past when I've tried to lose weight, I look at it as I either win the day or lose the day. And boy, if I lose a day or two in a row, I tend to give up really quickly. Whereas with this, if I happen to go too high on a day or too low on a day, I can just go into the app and adjust those calories so that it fixes the rest of the days in the week. And as long as I hit those targets, my week is a win. It's a whole lot easier to win a week than to try and win every single day. So that's been really helpful. I like both of them. I'm going to keep doing both of them. And then what I'm going to do after that is in January, if I hit my weight loss goal and I continue to not lose strength, I'm going to be in a really good position. I should be down to about between 12 and 15% body fat, which is where you want to be if your body's going to be really comfortable gaining muscle. And at 53 years old, I'm going to take a run in January and see how much muscle I can actually add in either a 12 or 24 week period, just because I haven't tried to do it in a while, and my metabolism is so different now in the loss phase. I kind of want to see how different it is in the gaining phase. I'll have my testosterone rechecked and all that kind of fun stuff, and I'll keep you guys in the loop as I do that. But that is an update on my training. Now let's talk about the fun stuff that you actually care about, which is what I'm training with. And this week, I want to follow up on or continue on in the series on how to build your home gym. And I know that I started that with racks, even though that's one of the last things that you buy for your gym. And then I did that episode. If you haven't seen this episode, it's really good. It talks all about the order that you want to buy things for your home gym. And very early on, you want to buy yourself an adjustable bench and a set of dumbbells. And so we already talked about adjustable benches. If you missed that episode, go back and check that one out. And today I want to do part one of 2 parts of dumbbells. And today we're going to talk about general dumbbell knowledge. What are the things overall that you want to look for in a set of dumbbells? What are the pros and cons about those things? Why would you want some of them? Why would you not want some of them? And then the next episode, I'm going to get into some very specific dumbbell recommendations. The reason I'm dividing it this way is this episode should be able to stand on its own for quite a while, because the things that I'm going to talk about today don't change over time. The stuff that I'm going to talk about in the next episode, which are recommending specific sets of dumbbells or specific dumbbell brands and models, that's probably going to change over the next year or two, and I'll have to re-record that episode if enough new stuff comes out. But that's why we're dividing it. Also, you guys don't want to hear me talk for an hour and a half, I'm sure. So we're going to divide it up into 2 smaller chunks of episodes so that it's easier for you guys as well. So let's get into the dumbbell episode. And we're going to start with the material that dumbbells are made of. And there's typically 3 choices that you're going to see. You're going to see dumbbells finished just in bare metal, and you'll see fixed dumbbells and adjustable dumbbells that way. You'll also see dumbbells coated in urethane. That is a very hard plastic, kind of a polymer that doesn't have any odor, is very, very durable, looks nice, holds color really well. And then you've got rubber. Rubber is going to be a little bit of a softer coating. It's going to be a little bit more protective as far as if you drop it on stuff like a bare cement floor, but is going to have some other properties that aren't necessarily as good. But that's really your choice of finishes. You can get those coatings or those materials in just about any type, whether it's a fixed dumbbell, an adjustable dumbbell, a loadable dumbbell, whatever kind you're looking at, you're probably going to find one of these 3 materials. For metal is going to be the least expensive because you don't actually have to put anything on it. Now, a lot of metal dumbbells are going to be powder coated. I haven't seen any done in Cerakote yet, although I'm sure that's going to come at some point. And then you're seeing some really cool like titanium and PVD finishes coming out for barbell sleeves. I wouldn't be surprised to see those finishes coming to metal dumbbells as well. But for now, most of the time you're either going to see either bare iron, that's what you'll find, and just like some basic hex metal dumbbells as you're playing against sports, or like the least expensive options. And then sometimes you'll see powder coat like you see on my power blocks over here. But metal's a good finish. It doesn't, like I said, doesn't add a lot to the price. So the next coating is going to be urethane. And urethane you'll find also, I've seen that on some adjustables, I've seen that on some fixed dumbbells, but urethane is probably the highest end of these finishes. It's going to be probably the most durable. It's going to resist aesthetic blemishes the most. So when you buy like the quote unquote nicest set of dumbbells you could buy, which I'll say is probably like American Barbell's top end set of round urethane dumbbells. Those are probably the nicest dumbbells you can buy. And one of the things that makes those the nicest is that you have a very durable coating in that urethane. Now, urethane can be applied in a number of different ways. It doesn't mean by default that if it's urethane that it's going to be super durable, but if it's applied the right way, it's going to absolutely be the most durable finish, and it's going to be the nicest looking for the longest period of time because it's not going to discolor. You're not going to have it. It's not going to scratch off. It's not going to come off in any type of way. So urethane is very durable. It's also the most expensive. So when you're looking at dumbbells, if you're looking at something that's a urethane coating, that is going to add to the price. Another benefit of urethane is there's no smell to it. So out of the box, there's no odor or anything like that. It doesn't make your hands smell funny or anything like that. It's also very nice looking. The finish is very smooth, real nice. You get them in any color that you want, although most of the time you'll find dumbbells in black. And so that's urethane. And then in the middle between metal and urethane, you've got rubber. Rubber is kind of a budget coating. It's going to give you a little bit of impact resistance so that they're going to maybe not, if you're working out on a bare cement floor, on a wood floor, and you drop one or you set one down, it's not going to mark up your floor because it's got that rubber coating. There's a little bit of a shock absorption there so that if you do happen to drop something, the rubber isn't going to make it bounce typically, but it's going to give you some shock absorption is there as well. And then it's going to be relatively inexpensive, and it's not going, the color is typically black, but it's not going to scratch. The color's not going to come off or anything like that. Now, rubber does tend to smell. There's 2 types of rubber. There's what's called crumb rubber, and then there's virgin rubber. Virgin rubber is typically not going to smell. That's going to be a more expensive material, and then it's going to smell a little bit like rubber, but not too bad. And then crumb rubber or recycled rubber, that's going to smell pretty bad. It's going to leave smell on your hands, and it's going to take a while for that smell or that odor to dissipate. And so that's your 3 finishes. There's pluses and minuses to each. Now, what I would tell you is you're probably not going to be able to go out and say, I want adjustable dumbbells and I want to make sure they're urethane, right? So adjustables are going to be what adjustables are. Same thing with loadable dumbbells. You're not going to have a lot of choices there. Where this comes into play is typically in your fixed dumbbells. And so if you're looking at fixed dumbbells, which are just fixed weights, where you just have the rack of all the dumbbells, then this is where you're going to have the most choice in these finishes. And the rank of durability, how nice they look aesthetically, and also price is going to go from a low end of metal to the high end of urethane, with rubber falling right in between. And you'll see most home gyms have rubber dumbbells is what you'll find. If they've got fixed dumbbells, usually what you'll see is rubber dumbbells, because that hits a nice sweet spot between performance and aesthetics and price. So there's your finishes. I don't know if I'm ever going to decide on dumbbells based on finish. If I ever went with a full set of fixed dumbbells and I'm going to spend that much money, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I would probably go with urethane, just because they are going to last long. And if you're going to invest that much money in something, you might as well spend, even more and get the one that's the best. But that's kind of where you sit with the finishes. After the finish, the next thing that you're going to notice most likely when you're looking at dumbbells is the shape of the dumbbell itself, as far as the weight on the end. And there's going to be 3 basic shapes. The first is round. So round is what you would find in traditional old school dumbbells that were called loadable dumbbells, where you had like a mini barbell and then you put the round plates on the end, and they just made plates that were round. So those were round. There's not a huge functional reason for the dumbbell to be round. It's just kind of what it's always been. So round is one shape. Another shape that's very common is hex. The benefit of a hex dumbbell is that it sits still. It won't roll across the floor. And for most garages, your garage is actually pitched a little bit from the front of the garage back to the door so that water drains out of it. And what you'll find if you've worked out in your garage at all is that things tend to roll when they're round. So if you've got round dumbbells and you set them down the right way, they will roll out the front of your garage, which is always fun. That's the nice thing about the hex dumbbells, is that they don't move. The reason why I like hex dumbbells versus round is I like to use dumbbells to weight down bands, because sometimes I'll use bands on exercises outside of my rack where I have band pegs, and dumbbells allow you a place to attach bands, whether it's underneath a landmine or whether it's just on a freestanding exercise of some type where you're doing maybe RDLs out in front of your rack or something like that where you don't have band pegs. There's a lot of ways to use a dumbbell that doesn't roll around, so I do like the hex design for that reason. Now, there is a drawback to the hex design. For those of you who drop your dumbbells, now, there's 2 types of drop. Everybody's going to drop their dumbbells at some point, whether it's on your foot like I talked about, or whether it's just because you're not paying attention, or because you're fatigued, or because something slips out of your hand, or you set it down, whatever. You're gonna drop your dumbbells, right? So don't fool yourself that you're never gonna drop your dumbbells. But some people drop their dumbbells a lot. A lot of guys who do heavy dumbbell presses, especially when you're by yourself in the garage, you'll just dump them when you're done. The nice thing about round dumbbells is typically when they hit the round is they stop where they are. They're not going to bounce in any weird direction. Whereas with the hex dumbbells, if you drop that dumbbell and it lands on one of the angles, it could bounce off to the side. And I have seen people in gyms drop hex dumbbells and they hit the ground and they bounce right into the side of their leg or right into their shin. So the drawback to the hex dumbbells is if you are a dumbbell dropper, maybe round might be a better choice for you. Now, there is a best of both worlds, and you see this like American Barbell again. I'm going to reference them a couple times in this video. They make a 10-sided dumbbell, and the benefit of the 10-sided dumbbell is there's enough sides to where the angles between the sides are shallow enough where it won't make that dumbbell jump off to the side or bounce in a weird direction if you drop it, but there's enough of a flat surface that allows you to set the dumbbell down and it's not going to roll away. I like that shape the best. The other place you'll see that shape that comes to mind right off the top of my head are the new Rep and Pepin Fast Series dumbbells. If you look at those, they're not round, they're not hex. They've got, I think it's 10-sided, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's 10-sided. And what that allows you to do, like I said, is you can drop those, they're not gonna bounce in a weird direction, but you can also set them down and they're not going to roll away. So as far as shape goes, that's the 3 shapes that you'll see. I prefer the 10-sided if you can get it. And if you're looking at different companies, you may or may not have that option. The most common are going to be round as far as urethane goes. And then as far as rubber goes, the most common is going to be hex. But that way you at least know the pros and cons of the shapes. I don't think any one of those shapes would make me buy or not buy a dumbbell. Like if those reps were round or hex, I don't know that that would make me buy them or not buy them. It's just nice to know that if you're in between two sets and the shape is the difference, that's how you kind of decide between them. Now, the next thing that you'll notice when you're looking at dumbbells is the handle itself, the part that you actually touch. To me, this is one of the most important things. And we'll talk about durability and things like that, but as far as just using the dumbbells, to me, the handle is the most important thing. I don't care how many sides the thing has if I hate the handle in my hands. So let's talk about some elements of the handle that may or may not be important to you. And the first one is just the ergonomics. Regardless of what I say next, if you like the way a handle feels in your hands, and you enjoy using that dumbbell, then that's a great handle style for you. Some people like a lot of knurl, some people like no knurl, some people like a straight handle, some people like kind of a bubbled handle. Whatever it happens to be, if you like a particular handle, what I'm about to say next shouldn't affect how you choose your dumbbells. And the best way to figure this out is to see if you can try some on your own. Whether you go to a commercial gym or two, or a CrossFit box, or a friend's garage gym, the best way to tell what you're going to like is by trying them. And the first thing you'll notice when you grab a lot of handles is some of them are straight, meaning that they're just like a barbell. There's no curve, it's just a straight handle. This is what I prefer because it's just like lifting with a barbell. I like consistency in the gym, and I don't want my dumbbells to feel different than my barbells. I also like kettlebells that have a straight handle to them and not so curved, because it's consistency from implement to implement. So I prefer straight handles. I know a lot of other guys do too. That seems to be, if you have a choice, the more popular. However, the most budget-friendly fix are hex rubber dumbbells with kind of a bubbly handle. And it's got kind of a wider middle part where it kind of narrows out, and it feels like fits in your hand a little bit better. I do know people who like that more. I personally don't like that handle style. I think it's uncomfortable. I think it feels weird after a while. I also think it gives you less stability in your hand because it's different shapes and different parts of your hand. I know other people argue with me on that. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is one of the debates that I don't have a dog in this fight. I just know what I like. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like that bubbled handle? Do you like that straight handle? What one's better for you? But those are the two types of shape handle that you'll see. The next difference is what they're covered in. Now, I personally think that the handle should be knurled. As much as I love my power blocks, I will probably upgrade to a metal knurled handle on them at some point, because I just like the feel of the metal knurling when I'm lifting. Again, consistency from barbell to dumbbell. However, the rubber coating on these handles, which is the other kind of way you'll see manufacturers address grip, works just fine for me. I haven't ever had an issue with it. I just like the knurled better. The other thing that you'll find, like Fringe Sport just came out with a new set of dumbbells where they're rubber, including the handles, but the handles are knurled rubber, which is, I think, the first time I've ever seen that. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, if they've had that kind of thing before, but I'm pretty sure this is the first set of dumbbells that has knurled rubber handles, and I played with these at Home Gym Con. They're pretty cool. They feel good. They've got the grip of rubber, but they've also got that kind of bite of knurl. It's a really interesting set of dumbbells. The set that I saw only went up to 50 pounds, so that would kind of rule it out for me. I'm sure they'll come out with heavier ones if they don't already, but I do like the combination. But that's typically what you're going to find. Now, the knurling itself, for a lot of dumbbells, you'll see that most of the knurling on dumbbells is kind of a medium volcano knurl, and I think that's appropriate for most dumbbells. I don't really think you should have super aggressive knurling on dumbbells, and here's why. Dumbbells are used for high rep movements, so what may happen with a really aggressive knurl is if you're doing sets of 25 curls and you've got a really sharp knurl, or you're doing sets of 20 rows, anybody who does bodybuilding training is working in these rep ranges, then you don't want a knurl that's super aggressive. In fact, I would even say that not even a more aggressive medium volcano, even that might be too much, but just kind of a nice middle of the road knurl tends to work best for all movements. If you need to have more grip, you can use lifting straps on dumbbells. I do that all the time, even on my power blocks where it's hard to get the strap down in there. I still use those sometimes if I really need a lot of extra grip, if I'm doing long, heavy loaded carries or something like that. But I wouldn't opt for a real heavy aggressive knurl. I know there's some aftermarket handles out there like for the power blocks that will offer a more aggressive knurl, and I would say just be cautious of that, simply because, again, anything that's high rep, anything over 6 to 8 reps, you're gonna find that you're gonna start tearing up your hands pretty quickly and kind of wish maybe that you didn't have such an aggressive knurl. The next thing that you're gonna see that differs from dumbbell to dumbbell is the diameter of the handle. I've got 2 points to this. Number one, I prefer a thicker diameter. Typically your better dumbbells are gonna have like a 30 millimeter, a 31 millimeter. I've seen 33 millimeter. Typically on a barbell, 29 is about as wide as you'll go unless you're looking at a specialty bar. But I like 30 and 31 in that range for dumbbells. That gives you a little bit better grip. It's also gonna help work your forearms a little bit better. And because of the way that you use dumbbells, it's gonna be a little bit more protective of your elbow. The wider the grip, the less stress you're gonna put on this tendon right here on the outside of your elbow. So having a little bit wider grip on dumbbells is nice. The other thing that I look for, especially if you're looking at a set of fixed, you don't have to worry about this on adjustables, but if you're looking at a set of fixed dumbbells, nothing drives me more nuts than to have the 5-pound dumbbells have a little tiny skinny handle and have the 50-pound dumbbells have a big old, like they should all, in my opinion, they should all have the same diameter handle. Now, when you look at better companies like Rogue, American Barbell, Rep, those sets of fixed dumbbells typically have the same diameter handle across the whole series of weights. It's when you start getting into these budget sets on Amazon where you're gonna see, because they wanna make things less and less expensive, they'll make the handles a smaller and smaller diameter. Also, that's a really good sign that your workout equipment was designed by engineers and not somebody who actually works out, because nobody who works out would make the handles a different shape and size across the same set of dumbbells. Only an engineer would do that. But that's something that you'll find and you wanna kind of keep an eye out for. It's something that bothers me. I know other people don't care, but it's something to kind of look at. And that's your handle. You know, just decide on the shape that you want, the material that you want, how much knurling you want. And those are gonna be, again, as we talk about these differences, you're gonna see a lot more of these options when you're looking at your fixed set of dumbbells and when you're looking at your adjustables. Your adjustables are gonna come how your adjustables come. You're not really gonna have a ton of choices. There are some aftermarket things, like I said, that you can add to some dumbbells, but just so that you kind of know what you're getting into, that's kind of what you need to know about the handles. The last kind of overall thing that I really look at, and for me, after how it feels in my hand, this is the next most important thing, and that is the weight steps between the dumbbells. So when you look at fixed weight dumbbells, the big sets that you'll see in your gym, typically what you'll see is that up to 25 or 30 pounds or so, this isn't true on everything, but just on average, they're gonna go in 2.5-pound steps. So you're gonna see a 2.5 pound, a 5 pound, a 7.5, a 10, a 12.5, a 15, and so on, up to about 30 pounds or in that range. And then once you hit 30 or 35 pounds, they're gonna start making 5-pound jumps. I'm not a huge fan of that. If it was up to me, every dumbbell set would go in 1.25-pound increments. And the reason for that is you're using dumbbells for accessory exercises a lot of times. And while on a dumbbell bench press, 1.25 pounds isn't gonna really make or break you one way or the other, if you're doing flies or you're doing rear delt flies or you're doing any type of a shoulder exercise or you're doing even overhead presses, 1.5 pounds is a lot of weight in some movements. And I really don't like that some dumbbell sets make you jump up in 5-pound increments. Some adjustable dumbbell sets will go up in 5-pound increments. My power blocks are weird. Like it'll go in a 2.5-pound increment and then a 5 and then a 2.5 and then a 5, depending on what weight you're on. So that's a little of an oddball. Be aware of that if you're looking at power blocks. There's a way to address that, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But look at the weight increments. And to me, that's one of the drawbacks of fixed dumbbells is that you're set in those increments. Whereas when you look at something like those Rep Fitness dumbbells that I was talking about earlier, there you've got these little adder weights. So at least you can go 2.5-pound steps all the way up. Now, regardless of the type of dumbbells that you get. And I'm not affiliated with this company, but there's a company called Microgains with a Z. In my opinion, you should get something from this company for your dumbbells, regardless of the set of dumbbells that you have. What this will allow you to do is it'll allow you to take your dumbbells and go up in smaller steps. It's also, if you think about it, it's going to save you a bunch of money. For those of you out there who are looking at fixed weight dumbbells, you need a set of these because number one, you're going to want to go up in smaller steps, but number two, you can actually buy less dumbbells. Instead of buying them in 5-pound increments, you can buy them in 10-pound increments. And then you can use these micro gains to put that 5 pounds on there. So each one is 2.5 pounds. You can put a 2.5 pound one on, and then another one make 5 pounds, and you can make bigger jumps in your dumbbells. So he's got that all outlined in his site. I don't want to do math in my head right now because I'm thinking about it and it's not adding up how I just said it. And I don't want to go back and re-record this section, but take my word for it. You can buy fewer dumbbells. He's got the info on his site. Make sure you go check it out. I met this guy at Home Gym Con, one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet. It's a family-owned business, US-based business, makes a ton of different really cool stuff, fits most dumbbells out there, makes other fractional plates for your barbells. So I would recommend that regardless of your set of dumbbells, that you get something for micro gains to really up the versatility of your dumbbells. But those weight steps are something that you're gonna wanna look at, and this really comes into play in some of the less expensive adjustables. I've seen adjustable dumbbells that go on steps of 15 or even 20 pounds. Again, back to some of the budget stuff you'll see on Amazon, some of the stuff designed by engineers and not by people who lift. So be careful. And if you're looking at something that's kind of an off-brand, or even if you're comparing to, the way that they step between weights should be something that you look at, because again, you want to be a little bit more flexible with the way that you use your dumbbells, and you want to be able to really dial in the weight depending on the movement, and being able to do that in smaller steps is going to be important to you. The last thing I want to review is just, I've touched on it a little bit, but there's 3 formats of dumbbell, and maybe I should have covered this first, but we're covering it last. And I just want to point out right now that whenever I talk about dumbbells, whether it's on the website or whether it's here on YouTube or it's on Instagram, there are people out there who are huge fans of all 3 of these types. I don't think that there's a right or a wrong just in an absolute. I don't think any one of these you could say, hey, don't buy this. Although for me, I oftentimes say don't buy one of these at least, but I see people like fight to the death for their particular favorite. So what I want to do is just kind of tell you each of the 3, tell you the positives and negatives so that you can decide for yourself what you think will work best for you. The first type is going to be a plate-loaded dumbbell. And what I mean by, because there's a couple different formats, so some people are going to say, Tim, that's not a plate-loaded dumbbell. What I mean is it's a central thing and you put on and take off weights. So you're physically removing with your hand. You're unscrewing something, or you're taking a collar off and you're taking things off and you're adding things on in order to change the weight of your dumbbell. This is exactly like the Sears weight set I had when I was 13. That's the first and last set of plate-loaded dumbbells that I ever want to own. I think there's a lot of drawbacks to these, but they are still out there. They're still made. They're one of the more popular things that Rogue sells, oddly enough. They make a really cool, I guess it's because they look kind of cool. They make these really cool looking plate-loaded dumbbells, and I'm not sure why people like them, but let me know in the comments. If you have this set, why do you like those? Because they're really, really expensive and they're kind of a pain to use. But let's talk about the pros and cons of this type. So as far as pros go, you can take, if these are a standard barbell sleeve size like the Rogue, you can take those weights off and put them on your barbell. So I have had some people say, hey, it saves me money because I only need to buy, I don't need to buy change plates. I can use my dumbbell plates for change plates. I can move them back and forth. I suppose that's something that's a benefit of those particular types. And another benefit is that they can be less expensive. So be careful, because they do make standard size barbell, which is a 1-inch diameter barbell or a 1-inch diameter handle. Those plates aren't going to fit on your standard barbell, but they are also very much less expensive. So I guess they can be less expensive, but they can also be very expensive. So again, I mentioned the Rogue. By the time you buy the 2 handles and you buy enough weights to get all the way up to a decent amount of weight on each dumbbell, you are going to spend a lot of money. We would have been able to just buy basically a nice set of fixed dumbbells, which is one of the reasons that the plate-loaded dumbbells don't make a ton of sense to me, because by the time you spend enough money on these, you could have bought either a set of adjustables that are nicer, or you could have bought a set of fixed dumbbells that are nicer as well. The second drawback for me is I don't like to do math. It's hard enough for me to remember 45-pound bar, 2 45-pound plates is 135. I'm not kidding. It took me a solid, like the first year of me lifting, of going, what? In fact, I had an app where instead of it saying, hey, put 225 on the bar, it would literally say, put 2 45-pound plates on each side, because I didn't want to do the math. So I don't want to do that for dumbbells too. I have no idea how much those handles weigh. For me, that doesn't work. I know that other of you have brains that work much better than mine. Actually, most of you probably have brains that work much better than mine, especially when it comes to math. So That's not going to be a big deal for you, but it's a big deal for me. The other one is I don't want to have to actually physically change things. Now, Iron Master, and there's another one, I think it's called Spin Lock, I'm probably wrong, where they have these easy to change caps on the end that you just spin off, and then you can take these little plates on and off, and it does make it faster. The ones that I had when I was a kid had a little square-headed screw that you had to take a wrench out and screw it. Like, I never changed the weight on those, right? It was too much of a pain, and it's still too much of a pain. Even with the Spin Lock, I tried the Iron Masters. People raved about them back in the day. For a while, they were the most durable and probably the best adjustable dumbbells you could get. However, just loading those plates on and off, I would find myself, oh, I loaded a 5 on this side and a 2.5 on this side, so it's not balanced. For me, I didn't like them, but there are easier ways to do that, but you do have to change the things manually every time you do it. The big one for me is one of the things that I use dumbbells for the most is dumbbell bench press. And in order to get set up for a dumbbell bench press, you've got to put the dumbbells on your legs. And plate-loaded dumbbells have these posts that just jam into your legs, and the heavier you're trying to lift, the more uncomfortable that is. Super uncomfortable. Now, if you like this type of a dumbbell and you have this problem, AbMat makes little pads for the end. So you could buy this accessory so that you can put them on the end and you can set them on your knees comfortably. Or if you already own plate-loaded dumbbells and you want to do that, they do make that accessory. I'll put a link below. In fact, I'll link everything I talked about today down below. Those are affiliate links. If I have mentioned something that helps you out and you do decide to buy it, please buy it through those affiliate links. It's what pays the bills here at the channel and allows me to buy more stuff to test. So appreciate you guys using those links. Long story short, I'm not a fan. Some people are. Honestly, I think either fixed or adjustable are really the best way to go, but you do still have plate-loaded options. Your next option is fixed, and that's the set that you would see at the gym. So the pros of fixed dumbbells. Let's just admit they look cool. I've talked to more than a few people who say, I just want my gym to have the big rack of dumbbells. And if we're being honest, would that look cool in my gym? Yes, it would look very cool in a gym to have the big rack of dumbbells. Is it more functional? In some ways it is. One of the benefits of the fixed dumbbells is you could have more than one person training in your gym at the same time, which is one of the reasons why commercial gyms have these. They don't have them because they're functionally better than like those Rep and Pep dumbbells. Honestly, I think those are better functionally, but only one person at a time can use them, and that would be a terrible solution for a commercial gym. Also, commercial gyms have plenty of space. One of the drawbacks of your fixed dumbbells is they take up a ton of room. So if you've got unlimited room, they're not a bad solution, or at least they're not a bad solution space-wise because you have the space. But for most of us who are working in tight quarters, even with a compact rack, it's really, they take up a ton of room. Also, they take up a ton of your budget. These things are expensive. A set of 2.5 to 50 pounds are gonna run you anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 depending on the manufacturer. If you were to get something that goes up to 100 or 125 pounds, like the Rep adjustables I keep mentioning, you're gonna spend $3,000, $3,500 before you buy a stand to put them on, and a stand to put that many dumbbells on is gonna run you another $800 to $1,000. You're literally talking about $3,500 to $5,000 to get a full set of fixed dumbbells in your garage. So in my opinion, that's a lot to pay to make it look cool. Now, buying used is a great option here. There's a lot of guys out there who have bought this set because they think it's gonna look cool and then realize that the space in their garage gym is more important. So they offload these things at a discount. If you're buying a good quality set, they're probably in good shape. So that's a good way to do it. But that is a drawback. The space in your budget, the space in your gym, no other type of dumbbell takes up more in either of those areas. I talked before about the increments. The increments aren't going to be great in your fixed set of dumbbells once you get past, the 30 pounds. I do recommend, again, going back to those micro gains. I have also used a product called Plate Mates, which are magnetic weights that you can stick onto the end. They're 1.25 pounds each. That allows you to move up and down the weights in smaller increments. And then the last thing I'll mention is that of all of the types of dumbbells, I will give the award for best ergonomics to fixed dumbbells. Of all of the dumbbells that I've used, the American Barbell, their top-end urethane dumbbells are the nicest I've ever used. They're the most comfortable I've ever used. They're the best handles I've ever used. I love that they're size appropriate. I don't have to worry about stuff. One of the things I don't like about those Rep and Pep dumbbells is you can hear the plates kind of clanging against each other when you use them. There's nothing moving. And they don't shift in your hand, but they do make noise. And boy, these fixed dumbbells, as far as comfort and ease of use and just overall ergonomics, fixed dumbbells win, hands down, no doubt about it. Some of the adjustables are close, but if you're looking for the most enjoyable to use and you've got those adder weights, fixed dumbbells might be a good choice for you. The last type, as you can guess, are your adjustables. The benefits are numerous with adjustables. They are the most cost effective typically. If you look at what you're paying based on the number of weights that you're able to get, they're typically gonna win that way. Ergonomics, the new ones, whether it's the Snodes or whether it's the Rep and Pepin ones, the other ones that Rep makes, their other fast series dumbbells, even Nordic Track makes a real decent set of lower weight adjustables. You know, the ergonomics, the cost per weight, everything is going to be really good on adjustables. You get a lot of bang for your buck in adjustables. There's a ton of different choices out there for adjustables. They're going to be easy to use. They're going to go in small steps. They're not going to take up a ton of room in your gym. In my opinion, when I recommend what people buy for their garage gyms, I almost always recommend an adjustable dumbbell. But like I said at the beginning, I know everybody's got their favorite. I know everybody doesn't like adjustables. And the ergonomics is one of them. Like I said, those fixed dumbbells, as far as just if you're working out and the feel of things is the most important to you, the fixed dumbbells will have the best feel. So I hear that a lot. But there's your 3 types of dumbbells. And next episode, like I said, we're going to go into some specific examples of if you like a particular type, whether it's the best loadable, the best fixed, the best adjustables, what the pros and cons of those models are, what the price ranges of them are. That's going to be the content of the next episode, as well as, and I'm kind of giving you a sneak preview for this. Next episode, I'm going to talk about an equipment update here in the gym. Lawyers are involved. Yay, this is fun. So I had a couple of videos, I have 4 videos ready to post to review one of the brands of stuff that I've been reviewing here in the gym. I got a cease and desist letter to not air those videos because they're negative, because the company doesn't want any negative press. To quote their email, if you publish these videos, it will hurt our sales. Yeah, because your products suck. So sorry, I'm just gonna put it that way, but I'm gonna give you a little bit more of an update next time. I've gotta be real careful about what I say. I can't mention the company name. I'm guessing you guys could probably figure it out if you guessed, but I've got an interesting story to tell, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of an update there, as well as give you a sneak preview, since I'm selling all that stuff, what's going to take its place, because I'm going back to normal, ordinary folk gym stuff. I'm not going to go super high end. I'm done with all the budget stuff. I think we've looked at that for long enough, so I know you guys have requested that for a while. I'm going back to stuff that normal, ordinary folks would put in their gym, who care about what they buy, but don't have an unlimited budget, which is where I should have been all along. It's been an interesting experiment with this budget stuff, and yeah, so that's a sneak preview of that. And that's all I have for this episode. If you guys have any feedback at all, if I missed something, if I missed the type of dumbbell, if I missed a feature that's important, if you've got a particular favorite, let me know in the comments below and I'll make sure and mention it in the next episode if I can. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching all the way till the end. If you're here and you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. It's just like this little button. You just got to move your mouse or your finger down there. Just like, just click it, click it. Once you do that, then you can click off. I appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging with me. And until the next podcast, I'm Tim with GymCrafter.